Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another WomenHeart Social Media Live. I'm Celina Gorre, the CEO of WomenHeart, and we are celebrating today Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And it's so exciting for me to get to spend a few minutes talking to these amazing WomenHeart champions. It might be the first time in the history of WomenHeart that everyone on the panel is of Filipino descent. So we will get into that a little bit. But I'm really looking forward to this. This is really going to be a conversation about how we meld thriving with heart disease and being Asian American. And that's really what today is all about. For those of you who may not know WomenHeart is the only patient-centered organization in the U.S. exclusively focused on uplifting the voices of women living with or at risk of heart disease. And I'm excited to do that today with Jacqueline Avalon and Tiffany McConnell. Before we get started and have them tell a little bit about their heart stories, I wanted to also, share a little bit that as the CEO of WomenHeart and as a Filipino American, I also have recently had a heart disease diagnosis. So when I speak about these issues, I now speak about it from the perspective of having a lived experience. And so I'm in this sisterhood alongside Jacqueline and Tiffany. So we'll get right into that conversation. So, I want to start maybe with Jacqueline. If you can share with us your heart story to kick us all off.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Jacqueline Avalon. I am a WomenHeart champion of 2022. I am a registered nurse out here in Los Angeles, California. And my heart story is I was diagnosed with ventricular septal defect or congenital heart defect way back when I was born. Mm-hmm. That kind of went untreated because they wanted to wait out until I either become symptomatic, and they were just waiting for the closure of my heart to close up, but it never did. Fast forward onto September 2020, at the peak of COVID, I was working as a night shift nurse in a COVID unit in one of the most recognizable hospitals here in Los Angeles. And I developed chest pain while I was taking my break. And then I ended up turning myself into the ER, and that's when it all kind of happened. Then after a month, around October 2020 of that year, I had open heart surgery and eventually had my VSD resolved, along with other heart conditions that kind of developed along the way as I got older. So that's pretty much it. Wow. And I've been about almost 3 years since surgery, and I've been good.
Awesome. And you came to WomenHeart and decided that you wanted to help other women in this process.
Yes.
For sharing, Jacqueline. I want to turn it over to Tiffany, who is even a newer champion than Jacqueline, if you can believe it. Tiffany, let's bring you into the conversation and have you share your story.
Yes, thanks, Celina and Jackie. I am also a WomenHeart champion, class of April 2023.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. I am also a congenital heart disease survivor, meaning I was born with a special heart. Just like Jackie, one with a 4-part defect. As a baby, just under a year old, I had a major corrective surgery done to fully repair my heart. I am incredibly grateful for the medical advancements and excellent healthcare available to me at the time, as well as the doctors and nurses who saved my life. If I did not have the corrective surgery, I actually was projected to only live until about 18 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, I'm blessed. Luckily, I have not had any additional surgeries since then. Growing up into this day, my heart health and proactive care have been a priority for me. And just like Jacqueline had mentioned, fast forward to today at 38 years old. Yes, I'm telling you my age. I am fairly
I'll tell you my age later.
I am fairly healthy, prosperous, and live a life full of dimension. I have run 8Ks, 5Ks, and continue other cardio and fitness routines on a regular basis. Taking care of your full self, which includes the mind, body, spirit, has become ever so important to me. I do believe everything affects everything, especially when it comes to the heart. Also positive, on a positive note, I am also engaged, soon to be married, and although high risk, have been also cleared to carry a baby full term under the care of my cardiologist, who specializes in women with congenital heart defects. So I very much look forward to the next chapter of my life to come and possibly being a mom in the future.
Wow. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you.
I feel like we're breaking news on this live. So, that's wonderful. I want to dig a little bit deeply because both of you have had the experience of living with heart disease your entire life. And that's quite an interesting aspect of your experience. And so I want to know, when, as you were growing up in your families, did you talk, was heart disease or heart health sort of spoken about on a regular basis, and how was that dealt with in your family? Let's start with Tiffany, and then we'll go to Jacqueline.
Yeah, sure, Celina. So for me, as you mentioned, I was born with the heart condition. So my parents and close family made it a point to be proactive in helping me care for my heart growing up and understanding my condition.
Yeah.
As an adult today, I have truly taken over my own heart health.
Mm-hmm.
And as mentioned earlier, really care for my mind, body, spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Being half Filipino, my mother and grandmother, aka Lola, are from Manila. From them, it's very interesting, the family history and how things may be hereditary. I have learned that my great-great-grandmother had some type of heart condition. During her era, however, medical care in the Philippines was not as advanced as in the United States, nor was it modern like today. So she wasn't really given a defined condition or diagnosis by her doctor, just that she did have a heart condition and had to adjust her lifestyle and limit physical and emotional stress, again, to take care of her heart and her health and not worsen that condition.
Yeah. So it sounds like that was an active conversation in your family, Tiffany, which is great. How about with you, Jacqueline? What about in your household?
In my household, I was constantly reminded that I have a heart condition. It was more of like, because I wanted to be active as a kid. I love running. I love jumping jacks, all that stuff. I love exercise. But, it was so limiting for me, especially physically. I would become short of breath. I would just feel so winded. And then I kind of, as I'm recollecting like all these memories, like I remember my aunts, my mother telling me consistently, like, you have a heart condition, like you can't be pushing yourself too much. You want to be safe, and they want to be on the safe side for me. And that's their way of kind of like watching over me and taking care of me. And I do remember like a couple years back when I was still in the Philippines for schooling, and I was under the care of my aunt. She would tell me like, yeah, when you were an infant, like when you were 1 year old, we saw that your lips turned blue, and then we just had to rush you to the ER. And then, they just found out like, the VSD and all that stuff. And from that point on, they kind of took it as a warning, and they made sure that, you have to really take care of yourself now. Unfortunately, during the time that I was in the Philippines, especially during my teen years, I could not really have myself checked out. And the time that I did have myself checked out with a 2D echo, my cardiologist basically told me like, you're still good for now, but we want to wait until you become symptomatic or you're showing symptoms of, right, or any complications that you're having. So to me, it was kind of like I wanted to be proactive, but I was at an age where I was still under the care of an adult, and it was kind of hard for me to verbalize, like, can I have it checked,
Right,
please, more often? You know, it kind of had to wait until I became older. So.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know. What strikes me is this notion of agency, right? Because, like Tiffany, you said earlier that your family were really helpful, but then you really took over your own sort of heart health. And it sounds like it's the same with you, Jacqueline. Like, if it was up to you, you would have been much more proactive than maybe your healthcare providers were, or maybe even your parents were. I want to steer the conversation in the direction of food, because inevitably every Filipino conversation ends in food, and that is both a celebration of who we are as a people, but it also is in some ways detrimental to our health. Right? There are aspects of the Filipino diet that can be pretty bad for us, frankly. So I want to understand, maybe we'll start with you, Jacqueline, like how you were able to navigate, or maybe how your parents helped you navigate, you know, what we know to be very celebratory occasions around meals, big meals, extravagant meals, that it was endless amounts of food, but it was food that was maybe fried or you know, had a lot of meat in it. Talk a little bit about how you dealt with that. You know, what were happy occasions, but were a little bit fraught for you with heart disease?
Well, you know, it's really difficult because our Filipino diet, it just revolves around fat, a lot of carbs, especially rice. Like, we can't live without rice. And sometimes sugar, a lot of fermented foods, a lot of high sodium, you know, condiments, all these things. So like, I have to be honest, like when I was younger, my diet was not the greatest. Like, I ate what I ate, what was provided for me. And, you know, we kind of lived within a certain budget, and we kind of had to buy food out of like convenience, what saves time, and also what was available around our area. Like, for example, like in the place that I used to live in the Philippines, there wasn't any like shops, or there wasn't any groceries like Whole Foods or anything like that. We just had to go to our local grocery and just kind of figure out what we're gonna eat. But as I grew older, especially after my surgery, I became more wary of what I'm trying to eat. During celebratory periods, you know, it's so difficult. Like, you have crispy pata, and then you have all these fried foods, and then you have fish and all that stuff, pancit, like sweet spaghetti, and it's like, oh my god, it's a carb overload. I would, for me, I would pretty much, I would indulge every now and then. I don't try to limit myself. Like, I don't want to limit myself forever, like not having crispy pata. Like, I think it's okay to have it like once in a while, but to have it every day.
Just to clarify for people, crispy pata is deep fried pork.
Oh yeah.
Let's just be clear about what that is. It's delicious, but it is deep fried pork.
Very, very unhealthy. But I do practice kind of like, for example, like back when I was like 13, 15, my aunt would make us ampalaya with eggs, ampalaya with scrambled eggs. Or ampalaya is basically bitter melon, which is, you know, within our Filipino culture, we say that it's good for diabetics. You know, it really helps lower your blood sugar, all that stuff. So we kind of put that into practice. I grew to like it, but for some people, they hate it. But I love it. Honestly.
Well, Tiffany, what about you? How have you kind of interacted, right, with the central role that food and diet play in the Filipino culture?
Sure thing. So my diet was fairly integrated. So I usually have been around and continue to be around these delicious Filipino foods during the holidays or at family gatherings on my mom's side. I'm familiar with lumpia, which are the little egg rolls. Everybody loves those. Pancit, as you had mentioned, sinigang stew. My grandma Lola made that recently. Ube, purple dessert, and like both of you ladies have already stated, all of these foods have a lot of soy sauce, sodium, refined carbohydrates, sugar, fat, and always eaten with white rice, right?
Yeah.
Growing up, honestly, you know, as a kid, you tend to be particular anyways. So I was eating chicken nuggets, and you know, my parents were also trying to provide healthy meals. So I wasn't really as cognizant growing up. But now that I'm young adult, adulthood, obviously I continue to enjoy that side of my heritage and the food. I'm just a bit more mindful of what I eat. Personally, for me, I believe everything's good in moderation. Everybody, obviously, people have their own unique dietary needs and have to follow the advices of their healthcare providers. But yes, I mean, you can enjoy it, just being mindful, right? Because foods like that can really increase the risk of heart disease or complicate what we currently have with our hearts, and have other adverse impact on your health.
You know, what strikes me in both of your responses is this level of awareness about what you're eating and how it affects you, and that while you're not going to compromise the celebratory aspect of the meal with your family, you also are going to put some limits on that. And that's you kind of being responsible to your body and to your health, which I can really kind of resonate with. You know, when I walk into a Filipino party, I say, okay, this is a 3 lumpia party. That's your limit. Otherwise, you know, it can go kind of out of.
I go up to 4.
But you don't think about it.
It depends on the size. Sometimes it's small, sometimes it's big.
Exactly.
Depends.
The size is a moderator of that decision. I want to get to what motivated you guys to become WomenHeart champions. You know, this is a really specific and special role. And frankly, we haven't had historically a lot of representation from the AAPI community. Which is why I'm so pleased that both of you have become WomenHeart champions. So talk to me a little bit. Maybe we start with Jacqueline about your motivation to be a champion.
So actually, a backstory of how I went into WomenHeart, I actually heard it from one of my patients during my contract with a hospital down in Downey. So she told me about this organization. I signed up. Next thing I know, I'm a WomenHeart champion. That's very fast. So one of the things that motivates me to become a WomenHeart champion is like I have a pretty unique perspective on what heart disease is as a patient, as a nurse, and also as a family member of a patient. Like it's somewhat unique. I wouldn't say I'm the only one who has that kind of experience. It's just I'm able to kind of share that kind of perspective with other people and able to kind of empathize too.
Yeah.
So for me to be part of WomenHeart, it takes me to a place where I can talk with people at a one-to-one basis, not me as a nurse, but me as a survivor as well, and also someone who went through the same kind of ordeals. Because in my line of work, we're not able to kind of spill the beans of our personal life.
Right.
And I think WomenHeart enabled me to, you know, talk to women about, you know, their heart conditions, what they feel, especially the mental aspect of it, the emotional aspect of it, and the physical aspect of it. And it's, you know, gives me kind of like a good experience to share with them. So that's what motivates me to become a WomenHeart champion.
I love it. I love it. And what about you, Tiffany, one of our brand new champions?
Yes, it's really interesting. I discovered the organization actually via social, but then I had the pleasure of connecting with you, Celina, on LinkedIn. My daytime professional career is in sales and marketing within the insurance industry, so I am on LinkedIn a lot. But as I become older, I've realized how special and blessed I am, and not have only taken more ownership. I guess that's the common theme of our conversation.
Wow.
Like really taking control and ownership of your heart health. I've also taken more ownership of my actual heart story. Growing up, I knew I was different, a little ashamed of my scar. Now I realize, hey, I'm a heart warrior. That saved my life. And I have a good story to tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so my desire is to use my story and experience to spread meaningful light and healing in this world, across the country for WomenHeart. And as a WomenHeart champion, I can do that in various ways. I can help educate and support other women with special hearts, like myself and Jacque and yours, Celina, and heart disease, and those at risk for heart disease. It's pretty crazy that, we can be walking around as women and not even know that we're at risk for a heart attack or a stroke. It can happen to anyone, even active women athletes. You hear so many stories.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I also am excited to serve as an advocate to increase healthcare availability, equity, and quality, especially relative to women in heart healthcare in this country. We do have unique needs and considerations that can be easily dismissed or overlooked. And just as a testament to my story, if I didn't have good healthcare as a baby when I was born, and the healthcare team who helped with my birth didn't detect the heart murmur and such, I wouldn't have had my corrective surgery, and I wouldn't be alive and enjoying a prosperous life today. So it all comes full circle.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And, I think as we wrap up, I want to sort of bring it back to where we started, which is that this is AAPI Heritage Month. What I want both of you to give it a second, a moment's thought. What would your kind of big message be, or your most encouraging, motivating words be now, as women that have been living with heart disease your entire lives and have found in your stories value that you want to transmit to other women? What would you want to say to them as you start your own journeys as WomenHeart champions, right? Sort of, what's the message? What's the message, Jacqueline? Let's start with you.
Okay. As promised, I'm going to share my age. I'm 30. So as a 30-year-old Filipina, especially women my age, we tend to think that we're indestructible. We still have that thought, I am still young. Nothing like heart disease can never happen to me. I'm here to tell you it happens. And sometimes you just don't know it. And sometimes it can just be as simple as a simple chest pain or an abdominal pain. I feel like in this day and age, especially Asian women in particular, we tend to hold back whatever we feel. If we feel pain, we kind of suppress it. Because we're scared of what might happen or what we might find out if we get ourselves checked out. Instead of having to fear of what's wrong with you or finding out what's wrong with you, try to see it in a way where, there is something wrong with me. I still have time to fix a couple habits that I have. If I have to switch up my diet, then I will. If I have to integrate exercise with it, then I will. It's better to find things out now than to wait till the last moment when you're lying down in the gurney at the ER and maybe I see you as an inpatient. Trust me, you don't want to see me in the hospital. So like I said, my only hope and my only goal for Asian women or women in general is to be proactive with your care. If you feel that there's something wrong with you, advocate for it.
Yeah.
Because there's no other person who can advocate for you than yourself.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. How about you, Tiffany?
Yeah, sure. Great advice, Jacque. So my advice would be, as conditions do run in families, as I had had some sort of awareness that my great-great-grandmother Lola on my Filipino side did have a heart condition, do your best to know your heart health family history.
Yeah.
Might take a little bit of investigation, it might be a little uncomfortable, but that awareness can really help you and save your life. And also know that you can be the change and take charge of your heart health from the inside out to care for yourself and heal generations of the past and those to come. And then also a community and resource like WomenHeart is available. Be sure to tap into it. Just follow this amazing organization. Follow us on social, leverage our resources and our team. We're here to help, support, advocate, and educate.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And you know what? As a woman with heart disease, I will also add my 2 cents, which is I can tell you that after waiting for 2 years for a diagnosis, the day I got my diagnosis, I felt immense relief. So I think, to Jackie's point about it's better to know than to not know. It's better to move to the other side of fear and move to empowerment. The relief that I felt has really translated into me actually getting really excited about exploring new ways of eating healthy. And so, I think seeing it as a journey and not as an end, I think is a really important way to think about your heart and your heart health, especially if you are feeling symptoms or you have symptoms. I want to thank Jacqueline and Tiffany and all of you for joining us. This has been a really fun and special treat for me to speak to some fellow Filipino Americans during this month. And to share something that I think is not typical in our community, right? To share, be vulnerable, to not be so indestructible, but to also know that our vulnerabilities are part of our strength. Thank you both. Happy AAPI month, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Celina.
Thank you, Celina.